Guys, hello. I'm back with another guitar. And if you can't already figure out what this is, it is the PRS SE Swamp Ash Sandblasted CE24 limited edition. Whew, that was a mouthful. And this was one of the deals that I gave a heads up on earlier in the week that Pro Audio Star is running. And take it out here. So I couldn't pass up another good deal. And this was it was a great deal in my opinion. So this guitar lists for $699. You see it frequently going for about $599, and that's the lowest I've seen this at the usual stores, right? And it's still $699 at most places. So if you look at Sweetwater, you look at Musician's Friend, Guitar Center, you know, the main suspects, American Musical, you'll see that this thing is, depending upon the color, is typically around $699. Pro Audio Star has been clearing these things out in certain colors for $489.99, 30% off. And I said, let me just go for it, right? I've had good experience with Pro Audio Star. I said, let me take a chance. And sure enough, they shipped this double boxed, a big, large outer box, and the typical, behind me, you can see, the typical PRS box. And it came in, oh boy, this gig bag, this PRS gig bag, which is a very, very good gig bag, by the way. It's a thick, well-padded gig bag that probably on its own goes for $70, $80, maybe more. So that came with the guitar. Now this guitar comes in a bunch of colors. It comes in a green, it comes in a blue, print just like this, a blue, it comes in a purple, and it comes in this white. And I'm more of a conventional guy, conservative, if you want to call it that, and I like more of the subdued color, so I went with white, and I really like the way this white looks on the black background. The back of the guitar is solid open pore wood, and it's black, as you can well see. You have it is a bolt-on neck on these CE24s, so you can see there's the bolt-on 4-bolt. Here is where the block is and the springs for the tremolo system, and this is the cavity that covers the controls. The block on this guitar is surprisingly thick. So these CE models, they're made in Indonesia, are very, very well constructed guitars, extremely well constructed. Let's talk about the particulars of the instrument. So first off, you have, which I really like, these black metal tuners on the guitar. As you can see, they're blackened, and it goes well with the black pickups and the black wood background of the guitar. The bridge is also blackened, as you can see here, the metal. So I really, really like that look. You have the birds. It has 24 medium jumbo frets, a 25-inch scale length, typical PRS scale length, rosewood fretboard. This is a rosewood fretboard, and it looks nice. It really does look nice. The fret ends on this guitar are perfect. There's not a sharp fret end to be found, so they did a really good job with that out of the factory. The nut, I believe, is plastic. It's very well cut. I believe it's a plastic nut. There's the headstock, as you can see, and it has that CE covering over the truss rod adjustment area. Not bad looking headstock. One volume, one tone, and the tone knob also has a coil split on it, so you can split the pickups, both the humbucker in the neck and the humbucker at the bridge, with that control on the tone area. One volume, one tone, three-way switch. The switches, the tone knobs, they all work well. They all feel relatively solid. The tremolo system is the typical PRS tremolo setup, and it's set right now relatively flat, so it's almost locked, which is good because I'm not a tremolo user, and it'll help with the tuning stability. Now the sandblasting is kind of interesting on these guitars. What they do is they put these things in some sort of sandblasting oven or machine, and a ton of air pressure is put on the wood. This is ash, swamp ash, this top piece, and it creates deep crevices, as you can see in the wood, and you can feel these. I mean, they're fairly, deep. It almost feels like an old picnic table that you see has been weathered out, picnic table top. And what they then do is in these deep valleys and crevices in the wood, they apply coloring, and it fills it in, and then they wipe it off. So in this particular case, it was obviously white. And each one of these guitars is a little unique, right? The tops, there's not one they're not identical. In other words, there's no identical two tops, because the process varies and the wood grains vary on this layer of swamp ash that is covering the body. The body is mahogany with a swamp ash sandblasted top, but it creates a very striking look, in my opinion. I like that. I like the fact that it has the black metallic keys, because a lot of people will say, well, this is very, very similar to the CE24 standard satin finish guitar, which it is. It has the same pickups. These are the 8515S pickups on this guitar, as does that model. And that model is about $200 less than this. That model, I believe, goes for $499 list, where this goes for $699 list. Now, I got a great price on this at $489.99 from Pro Audio Star, so I couldn't resist, right, going with this. I like the way this looks a lot better than the plain CE24 satin standard finish. So, and it also has the black hardware, which I like. Yeah, so that's the sandblasting thing. What else? Wide, thin neck. These are not stainless steel frets. They're nickel frets, but again, very, very well done, at least on the one I got. Very happy with Pro Audio Star in terms they shipped this thing out very quickly. Got the best price I could find. Contacted support, had a couple of questions. They were great. They answered them quickly. The guitar also has a shallow violin carve on the top, if that's something you're interested in. Yeah, so happy in terms of the price I got, the deal I got on this. Now, the only thing, when I first got this and started playing it, it was a little scratchy with this three-way knob, and that's not a big deal. It could be, oiled and fixed relatively relatively simply. But it was a little scratchy, and when I put it in the neck position, I had to wiggle it a couple of times for it to engage. It was a little crackle, and then it engaged, and then from that point on, it's been fine. So that might have been a little glitch, but not an issue as far as I'm concerned, especially at this price. So let's see what this guitar sounds like clean, and then I will put on a little distortion, and you can hear it. And it's going through this standard amp, which is the Gamma 25 watt. Yeah. So here we go. I'll play the neck position, then I'll do the split coil, and you can hear all the different sounds. So here it's clean. just the neck pickup, and I'm going to go through these positions with the humbuckers fully engaged, not coil split. Now split. So that's split, right? So the neck, full, split, bridge, full, split, full. Split. Okay, so that's clean. And now put on some distortion. And we'll play all the pickup settings. Split now. So that's, shut the noise off. So that's the PRS SE Swamp Ash, or I try not to say Swamp Ass, Sandblasted CE24 limited edition. Now, I don't know how limited these are. Does it mean that, PRS will only have these out for a certain time period and then pull them and release them again? I don't know. I do know that Pro Audio Star is clearing them out, so it might be that they're ready to pull them and they're trying to sell as many as they can at this point. But for the price, it's normally $700. Would I spend $700 on this? Probably not, because at $700, there are a lot of other guitars that I may want to spend on the used marketplace, like some Epiphone Les Pauls or some Fender Strats that I've been looking for, whatever the case might be. But at $489.99, which now brings this into budget territory, it's a great price. It really is. And it's a very, very well made, in my opinion, great feeling and playing and decent sounding instrument. I mean, for my abilities, as an at-home novice hobbyist player, these pickups are fine. Now, a lot of people say they're on the darker side. They're not as articulate as they would like. Hey, listen, you can swap them out and put in whatever you'd like. For me, they're fine. Let me know your thoughts, guys. I thought this was a great deal. Put them in the comments below. If you like these videos, please subscribe and share. And as always, until the next one, be well, and I'll see you soon. Take care.